In the dead of night, when the moon is high and ill winds blow, and the banshees cry and the moonlight casts an unearthly glow, arise, my love, with tales of woe.
Good evening. It is 12 midnight, the paranormal hour. Welcome to Ghost to Ghost. I'm your host, Chief Lawson. Ghost to Ghost is a podcast to discuss all paranormal and parapsychology subjects. You can find Ghost to Ghost on all major formats, so tell your friends, tell your family. Come listen to Ghost to Ghost. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is the midnight hour. It is time for Ghost to Ghost. Tonight's episode, The Slender Man. And with me tonight is co-host Jennifer Verne, research manager and podcast producer.
Good evening.
And Heather Lawson, case manager and podcast director.
Hello.
Okay, Slender Man, we've talked about this. We recently had an episode about Tall Man or Hat Man. And I think a lot of times these get intermixed with Slender Man. I'm going to kind of give you the basic history of where Slender Man came out of. Slender Man, also known as Slender Man one word, is a fictional character. Was originated in creepypasta internet meme. It was created by a gentleman with the username something awful. And it was actually Eric Condunson. He's also known as Victor Surge. And in 2009, he created this entity and created a website for it. He was depicted as a thin, no, this is Slender Man. He's depicted as a very thin, unnatural, tall human. We're not referring to Victor Surge. We're referring to Slender Man. I thought I'd better point that one out. Yeah, he's depicted as a thin, unnaturally tall, humanoid, featureless head and face, kind of like Tall Man.
Right.
You know, he's all black, kind of like a shadow figure, wearing a black suit. Now, obviously, there's enough of defined features that show that he's wearing a suit. More like
Slender Man is supposed to, his face and hands are supposed to be white.
Yes,
in
and
contrast.
They're white, and sometimes he even has a white shirt under the suit, you know.
So what I picture is I picture Jack Skellington without a face.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah,
that's a good one. That really is. That does it. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and suit and tie. And and the suits doesn't have pinstripes. It's just black.
Yeah.
Right.
Although I've seen him in one.
I mean, Nightmare
depiction,
Before Christmas
Well,
was out before this creepypasta was.
Yeah, it was.
I think in the original Victor, it's just all black, like a Men in Black type suit.
Yeah. I think so. I think if you think about it, I think that's the look he was going for, was a Men in Black kind of suit. Very, very defined, very, very, specific and so forth. His MO is basically abducting people and traumatizing them, especially children. He's known to go after children. And it's kind of a odd thing to begin with, because when they created this, I don't believe he ever knew how far things were going to go. I don't think he
could not have imagined.
No. And, of course, once the media got it sent it even further in. But, after all that happened, and we'll talk about this in a moment, it eventually ended up being in video series games such as the Marble Hornets, where he's known as the Operator.
He's even got his own game.
Yeah, that's what I understand. So,
And he's in Phasmophobia, too.
Yeah, and I heard Minecraft as well as Enderman, so as a character.
Yeah, the Enderman.
So, he got a lot of PR for a invented character. And I know there's a lot of people out there going, well, why are we listening to this on parapsychology broadcast? But, I think it folds in, because one thing about being in parapsychology is you need to know as much about the field and also the contradiction of the field that you can. I study a lot with cryptozoology, ufology.
Because, people tell us they see this in real life.
Yeah, and we need to be able to pick that apart. So
how can something that's been a creepypasta be seen
exactly
as a haunt?
Yes. So I think in the long term of things that, it certainly, I think we talked about not long ago, I guess it was last year maybe, about, if people think something up, an entity up, and they talk enough about it, and they can actually bring it to existence. We talked about the tulpas. Yeah, we talked about this, and we talked about several entities and experiments that were ran to prove this. So I think at some point this is a possibility as well. In 2018, Sylvia White, which produced a film called The Slender Man, and I never seen it. I never had that kind of interest. But for those that have, or did you see it?
Oh, I took the kids.
Okay,
they were into it at that time.
Yeah,
and you probably had to watch. Usually if you take them, you usually watch them.
Have to go.
Yeah, there is that.
I think they were at the age where they had to have an adult go with them.
Yeah. And knowing our children, it's always good to have an escort. Anyway, but what did you think of the film?
It was okay.
Yeah. Any particular thing about it that caught your attention?
They portrayed them just like they described it.
Oh,
so did they portray it as an entity, or was it portrayed as a man?
As an entity.
Oh, really?
If I remember correctly, and Rowan couldn't watch the whole thing. She had to go to the bathroom.
Yeah. Yeah. That would be me. Yeah.
I tell you, Rowan, I started introducing her.
And she was a lot younger then. She had to.
Oh, yeah. She loves a good horror movie, and I tried to show her good horror movies. But the best one ever to watch her instead of the movie was Jaws. She had never seen. I watched her getting contortions in this chair that looked like something a circus performer would get into, and she yells at the screen, "Don't go in the water!" And I
remember because 2018 when we watched it when it came out in the theater. I think it ran along the lines of the kids that killed each other.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that in a minute. Did it have that in there?
Oh, yeah. So it took on the actual case, the criminal case that happened in...
Yeah.
Was that in Wisconsin?
That was in 2014, Wisconsin. Yeah. What happened, just so everyone knows.
It was influenced. It wasn't exactly. They were older.
Yeah.
Okay.
But, yeah.
On May 31st, 2014, in Waukesha, I'm pronouncing it wrong, I'm sure. Wisconsin.
Yeah, Waukesha.
Waukesha, Wisconsin. 12-year-old Anise.
Oh, Waukesha.
Is it Waukesha?
Waukesha.
Okay, Waukesha. 12-year-old Anise, isn't that weird? Born November 10th, 2001. So she was 13. And Morgan E. Geyser, born 2002. So, you're talking about a 12 and 13-year-old, lured their friend, Peyton Leutner, into the woods and stabbed her 19 times in attempting to impress the fictional character Slender Man. Now, a lot of testimony came out to this, and they said, well, Slender Man told us to do it. Well, and then certainly, Leutner, after her stabbing, she crawled to a road where she was found. She was recovered after 6 days in the hospital.
Right.
Waring and Geyser were found not guilty by reason of insanity. In February 2018, they were convicted and sentenced to long periods in mental health institutions.
Right.
But these two girls had watched this website, and they had been, keeping an eye on it, and they've been influenced by it, and they believed that Slender Man wanted them to do this.
I think one of them truly believed. I think the other went along with peer pressure. Follower,
could be.
And I probably some mental issues with that one. But I think the ringleader, the main one, I think that was Anissa. If I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong, but I think that she was the one who was extremely mentally ill, and I think that she maybe really did believe.
Well, I guess,
that
honestly,
she could create and manifest this guy.
Yeah. Well, and I think they wanted to. There was other children that were following this real heavily. When this happened, I remember when this whole thing came down and people were freaking out left and right. And, they found out their kids were communicating on this board and other boards. And, they even, some of them, in instances, had set up altars to more or less worship Slender Man.
Yeah, because I had 10-year-olds at this time.
Oh, no kidding. Yeah. How were they affected?
8 and 10. No, they were just now getting into the creepy stuff and the internet and all this, and they were talking about, and I'm like, whoa, holy cow.
Yeah.
Let's back up a second. What are you doing?
Yeah.
What's going on with this? You do realize what this is really about.
Yeah. a lot of them don't.
Yeah.
A lot of them don't. I mean, it's
So I
it's
just
scary.
looked up the movie just to refresh my memory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was, I mean, you can look at it and it's kind of barely. So the one of the girls disappears.
Okay.
They do some kind of ritual to summon Slender Man.
Mhm.
Okay.
And in the ritual, you're supposed to keep your eyes closed and not look at him.
Okay.
When he appears.
Yeah.
Kind of like Bloody Mary almost, yeah.
And one of them opens their eyes, and then like during a school trip, one of the kids disappears. And
Okay.
That's
Oh, the one that opened their eyes is the one that disappeared?
So,
Okay.
Yeah.
And none of the kids actually, none of the friends killed
Anybody.
But,
Yeah, in the movie.
But they disappear. So,
Right,
I mean,
okay.
Gives you the implication that, yeah.
You know, but
But it actually makes this person a real spiritual entity
yes.
Yes.
of the evil variety.
Yes.
Okay.
And, the funny thing is I was researching this, these things are still being seen on occasion. I mean, it's not like it was back then, but they're still seeing this entity appearing to people.
Right, but do we have a tulpa situation then, or do
Well,
we have
kinda makes you
more
wonder.
of a
Psychological suggestion.
or maybe something that's real, that's older, like the Hat
could
Man
be.
or the
And
Tall
taking-
Man,
Could
and we're
they be
taking
mistaking the Hat Man for it? It's a very
right.
close thing.
and they're taking their modern perception of Slender Man and calling it that.
Yeah.
Just like the fedoras and the
Sure, the
top
bolero
hats.
Or
and the top
is it-
hats.
You
yes.
see a hat and you say a hat
Yes.
that you know
Or is it an older entity that's rearranging itself
to modern
Yeah,
sensibilities.
It could be. I mean, it's certainly
It's a possibility.
It's a possibility.
I do have a question, and
Okay.
I know this is a podcast and it's radio. You guys can't see it, but you have an emblem here for Slender
yeah,
Man.
and I'm going to describe it. It's basically an O with an X through it, with the X centered right in the middle of it.
If you've never played the game, that's from the game.
Okay, but
Yeah.
if you turn it a certain direction, what else could it be?
It could be like a sight on a weapon. I mean,
I see Zodiac.
Oh, okay, Zodiac Killer. Yeah, okay, yeah.
I immediately
It's
saw
actually
Zodiac.
the same emblem as the Zodiac Killer.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah, it is actually the same one.
I mean,
And that's an interesting subject because
I
every
got
year
things from the
someone thinks
game.
they've solved the cryptology and it comes back out. Yeah, exactly. But, yeah, I mean, I didn't
I
think
got a
about
cool
that.
podcast for anybody who's interested in true crime and wants to know about the
Sure.
Zodiac. Put it in the comments and I'll let you know what it is.
Okay, outstanding. Now, the funny thing with this whole thing, and maybe it's not so funny, but I mean, it could be a topa. It could be, I kind of think it's a misconception, and we're starting to talk about more of the tall man or hat man
Right,
issues.
right.
And the kids, because the real big difference is obviously Slender Man doesn't wear a hat. And he's supposed to have really long arms. Well, sometimes hat
tall man,
yeah.
he is described the same way. So, I mean, we may have a crossover here to a certain degree. I mean, I always laugh because, and people have to understand that a lot of kids, they will, at night, especially young children, is getting used to sleeping in their own room and they're scared and they see all kinds of things,
Right,
And my parents, I'll never forget it, they bought me this very traumatic clown doll, which got hung up on the wall, and this thing had a fake face that went on it, and that thing was just creepier than shit. It's still somewhere in my mom's belongings, and they named him, I'm looking at it going, why do I want this thing in my room? And I think it finally got taken out because I threw a fit about it. I was pretty young, but they called him Clowny, and it was actually the doll's, it's a dumb name, and I mean, but this doll is actually, I guess, worth money now because it's but still, it kind of reminded me, you're starting to get into Robert, Annabelle, and all that kind of thing. But, it was just a creepy, creepy doll. And, I mean, I always saw that in a corner, and it had that, and I don't know what the name of the effect is, but it's a artistic painter's effect where the eyes, no matter how you look at them, they're looking directly wherever
Right.
you're at in the room.
Yeah, they follow you.
Yeah, and I think that, that's part of it, too. I think this had that ability, the way the eyes were done.
I had that doll that's that clown doll that's from Poltergeist.
Oh, no kidding.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Yeah, after Poltergeist, that got very famous,
After Poltergeist, I tied its arms and legs
There you go.
and put it in the basement.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, and I'll tell you, this always brings me back, and it wasn't my most favorite movie, but I did find one really part. It's called Major Pain, and the kid's having trouble going to sleep, and he goes in and says, "There's a monster in my closet." And he goes up, draws his 45, runs 3 rounds through the closet, and goes, "If he's in there, he's not happy." And I go, "Yeah, I've been there. I mean, I've been there before." And I told my daughters one time they thought that that Bloody Mary was coming after him. I told them, I said, "I'm the meanest thing in this house. Anything comes out of that mirror, they'll regret it." And I go, and I'm trying to sleep. And I said, waking me is just a bad idea. And, but, it's funny because during that state, I don't remember ever doing that. I mean, I never fell for any of that, or never got influenced by any of that as a child. Did you guys find any of that in your childhood where you got influenced by it?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
See, I never even heard the story of Bloody Mary until I was
I attempted to do it in the bathroom mirror. Why do you, again, think I don't have mirrors in my...
Yeah, we tried to do
There's a mirror in each of the bathrooms.
6th grade.
And at night, the light goes on when I go into the bathroom.
Mm-hmm.
I walk out of the bathroom, put my hand back in the bathroom, and turn the light out so I don't see the mirror in the dark.
There you go. Okay.
I don't do mirrors in the dark.
I never...
And it's because of that.
Yeah.
And, I mean... I did the Bloody Mary thing in the bathroom. I did not like what happened afterwards, but I think it was totally psychological in myself.
Yes.
Mine
but
is
it is very
Candyman.
vivid.
Well,
Candyman, yeah.
Candyman? Oh, God,
movie.
yes. That was a really, really, really deep horror movie. I mean, that affected a lot of people when it came out. I was much older.
You can see, with everything we've just discussed, how a idea implanted into children's heads about this Slender Man and what he is and what he can do and what he looks like can then manifest right into your everyday fears and superstitions. And when you see something like, oh my God, did you see that large tall shadow? That is Slender Man. And you could have had a glimpse of something in the woods or
just
a
be enough
tree.
to do it. Yeah.
It would be enough to do it.
I guess, when I grew up, other than Clowney, the only thing that really affected me was, I watched a lot of Bigfoot. I watched Ghost. I've been studying these paranormal issues since I was probably 8 or 10 years old. I was like 9, and it was I think we were going in the fall. We had the windows open in my bedroom, just the screens in. And we had just watched, if you've never watched it, it's called The Creature of Bogey Creek.
I knew you were going.
Yeah.
I knew you were going.
Yeah, you know where I'm the screen probably set it up.
Yep, that's exactly what set it up.
And, this movie, it was made by a... I'm not going to say an amateur filmmaker because it was a local filmmaker, and he
Just
made it to he documented it, and it was a very big thing. The Falk Monster was a very big issue during the 60s and into the 70s. But at one point, this family, the Fords, were affected by this creature, and at one point in the movie, this guy's in the bathroom, on the toilet, going to the bathroom, and this creature pushes the screen out, reaches in after him. So, all night long, this had stayed in my mind. I went to bed, my feet were down by the window that was open. Well, Mom and Dad had this Persian cat, and it and I had this love-hate relationship. And so the cat decided he was mad because he used to like to sleep in the sink, and he didn't want to get out of it. So I used to turn the water on him every once in a while. So he decided he was going to get even that night. And I got to sleep. He went in and pounced on my feet. All I could feel was hair. And I let out calls. I let out a hoop and a yell. And, it was one of these really, scary times. My dad always loved telling the story while I was alive about it. Scared the hell out of me because the cat finally got even.
He got you that day.
Oh, yeah. And, in kids, if you got more than one child, I don't care if it's brother and sister or brother and brother or sister, they will mess with each other. I didn't have that because my half-brother was much older and already gone out of the house by then.
Same.
Yeah, so... it's kind of funny, but we always related to that story. There's only a couple of times that those things can happen, but they stay in your mind, and it's no different than the influence that these characters are posing on children. I think for a long time I was scared to go camping, and the first time I went camping, it was kind of neat after I got over that hurdle. But those are stigmas that stay with us. And so if you're out there and you have a stigma, especially if you have something you want to say.
About scared about going camping. After I watched that worm movie, the Killer Worm movie.
Killer Worm.
Don't know that.
Yeah,
movie.
That one I don't know. I knew the
was like a
tarantulas, the bees,
movie,
but not that one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Was it like Dune?
No, these were earthworms.
Oh. That must have been around the time that Killer Bees and Tarantula and all that came out.
Yeah.
There was a whole episode. I think every critter they could find.
I watched, the the ants.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I forgot about them. Yeah.
The spiders.
Mm-hmm.
The bunnies. I mean, all of them.
Yeah.
And they didn't really bother me until the worms.
Well, oh God.
Because they were earthworms, and then if you stuck your hands in the,
they go right through them, huh? Well, I'll tell you what, when I was growing up, and
with everything else,
we would fish. People fish.
You go fishing.
Oh yeah,
your hands in the worm. Yeah, you get a worm.
Well, we used to use stuff. It was called bloodworms. Occasionally, my dad liked to fish one, and they bite. And my dad had me scared shitless to pick one up because he said, remember, don't pick up this end because that end will bite. I got news for you. They're not like a wolf or a dog. I mean, they're not going to lunge at you in the case. You'd have to really let them sit on you long enough to figure out they can bite you. I learned this a long time ago, but at the time, I was pretty damn sure those things, if I put my hand anywhere near them, were going to attack it like a piranha. And it always kept me. But, there's just some funny things that stay with a person. And it's little things like that. I mean, before in the 50s, they had a bunch of movies about the same kind of thing, about different critters. But it was because the A-bomb, the nuclear testing had caused them to get bigger. You had them. They had the creature from 10,000 Leagues. I mean, they had a bunch of them that came out that, were the same kind of thing. I enjoyed it.
Night of Lupus. That's the bunny one.
Night of Lupus. I don't think I've seen
killer
that
rabbits.
one. Oh God, yeah, that one I did not see. I watched the tarantulas. I hate spiders. That really bugged me, but not enough that I was worried.
That was before killer bees were actually here.
Oh yeah. Now that's the funny thing. People thought it was just a movie. Yeah, no, there's really such a thing. And makes you wonder. Before you go out there and decide to kill that nest, you might want to think that over.
Right? Kidding.
Just saying. The one thing I thought was funny. Someone got a bee suit. And, YouTube videos can be the best source of entertainment. And this guy's going to kill a hornet's nest, and he bought a bee suit. There are certain things a bee suit will not keep you from. That's why they wear large clothing underneath it. It was hilarious. He got out there, and they started yelling at him, and he's dancing around. And, I mean, again, it's funny how those things work. So, well, does anybody have anything you'd like to add? Slender Man was kind of a short subject, so this is a little shorter than we normally do podcasts, but, anything you can think of you want to throw in, guys?
No, I just can't wait to see what happens later to see if this phenomenon takes off further.
Yeah, because it's got the makings.
It does.
I mean, it does.
It does.
I don't know. I mean,
on top of Slender Man, it's creepypastas have
exactly. I mean, the rake. The rake is now that creepy.
Yeah,
that's kind of like that's kind of like Slender Man all hunched over and all white, though.
But that actually come from Scottish lore.
Exactly.
And, people don't realize it. So it makes you wonder. I'd like to know how this guy, what he used as a source.
There's like a whole family of them now,
right?
Through the stories,
right?
Yeah, I just like to know where he got the original source at. I mean, maybe he made it up himself, but that makes you wonder. He's a pretty interesting individual. He did this on his own.
Maybe he saw it.
It could be. Maybe he saw Hat Man, and maybe that's where it came from.
Maybe he took an experience and turned it into
that's what I'm thinking. Yeah.
Therapy.
Yeah.
Right?
I like the way you say that. Yeah, therapy. Yeah,
as a way to work through
Write it out.
Yeah, exactly.
How many psychiatrists? I mean, one of the when you take psychology in school, one of the things you learn is one of those treatments is to document or journal.
Right.
Yeah, because that helps get those feelings out. And so maybe that's what it was. I don't know. I mean, it's interesting, either way. So. I always look at this and go, that
just threw a whole new light on me on the Black Eyed Kids phenomenon too.
Oh yeah,
with the original poster of Black Eyed Kids.
Yeah,
no, because that's more ufology.
Yeah, it is. I mean, they relate it more same as Smiling Man. I mean, it goes more that direction. They kind of put their claim on it
in that vein.
Yeah, those guys are having a good day anyway. Ever since the government admitted there's something in the sky, they didn't know what it is.
Exactly.
I mean, it's not like it hadn't been there for 50 years. They just admitted to it. Hell, that is an accomplishment to get the government to admit to anything. But anyway. Yeah, I mean, they're having a good day, but yeah. Okay, folks. I think that's all we have for tonight's episode. This episode was written of Ghost to Ghost. We hope you enjoyed it. It was written by myself and with the help of both Jennifer and Heather. So it's now time for the Ghost Story of the Day with Jennifer Verne.
Today's Ghost Story of the Day is from Hoosier Folk Legends by Ron L. Baker. Kokomo's Haunted House. I think the house has 12 rooms, and they are very large. They have about 12-foot ceilings and a fireplace in almost every room. No one has ever been able to live in this house because of the strange noises heard in and about the place. My father and mother moved into the house as they were not superstitious. I remember quite well, although I was quite small, an incident that would make the hair of any normal person stand on end. We were all sitting around the fireside one evening after supper, and we heard a faint noise. It kept getting louder, and it sounded as if someone was dragging a chain across the floor. It came on through the kitchen, into the dining room, and right in where we were. It scared us all stiff. This particular sound went on and out the front door, and we never heard it that night. But every night it was the same thing. Another funny thing that happened while we were in that house was as follows. There was a large cedar tree that stood in the front lawn, and it is still standing to the last account I had of it. We were sitting in the front room one night, and we heard their tree fall, and Father said, "Well, we will have to cut that tree up in the morning." We all went to bed early. The next morning we arose with the idea of cutting the tree into firewood. But the strange thing was that tree was standing just as straight as it is now. This was just before we moved, and after this happened, we thought it was best to move to the other house. One day my father decided to go over and spend the night by himself. He lit his lantern and went over to the old haunted house. He lay down on the couch to go to sleep, and something blew his light out. He just thought it was the breeze that was coming through the window, so he closed the window and lit the lantern. And just as he lit the lantern, something blew it out again. He lit it for the third straight time. Each time, the same thing would happen. He left, and he said he never would try to spend another night by himself in that house. We moved into the other house, but we could still see the lights in the haunted house. And at times, there would be the most beautiful music being played that no one would ever want to hear. If there was anyone that wished to visit this place, it is still there, and you may camp there and live in the house as long as you wish. But there has never been anyone that has ever spent but one night in this horrible house.
Thanks for listening to Ghost to Ghost. Again, I'm your host, Chief Lawson. You can find Ghost to Ghost on all major formats on the 15th and 30th of the month at midnight. If you'd like to be a guest on the show, maybe have a question or subject you'd like to ask about on air or be used on the show, please email us at ghosttoghost@spiritindiana.com, ghosttoghost@spiritindiana.com. I want to thank my production staff on Spirit, Jennifer Verne, our research manager and our producer, and Heather Lawson, our trainer on Spirit and our podcast director, for helping make these podcasts possible. My chief of staff, Andrew Brooks, for his guidance and help on the scripts, and everyone else involved. Thank you so much. See you next time. Until then, stay safe and remember the truth is out there. Good night. Ghost to Ghost podcast and its contents is the property of Spirit Paranormal Ltd. All rights reserved. We welcome you to download and play the podcast and share with others for personal use. You may not, except with written permission, use or distribute its contents for commercial use. Spirit Indiana Paranormal, covering the Hoosier State since 2002, Indy's oldest parapsychology investigation group. If you're experiencing what you believe to be paranormal issues, reach out to us for help at www.spiritindiana.com or call our hotline at 317-883-9103. Again, that is www.spiritindiana.com or our hotline at 317-883-9103. Thank you for listening. Take care of yourself and the ones you love, and be safe out there.